Um, this is the point of sale piece. We're tied into the back of IMACS, which is a little bit different than Rover. So I'm super excited about that, and we have some customers that are as well. So when you go to pick a customer, you can put any part of their name or their customer account number, and it will pull up any of the accounts that's got MSB. MSB is my test customer that I usually work with, but I get Williamsburg's as cross references because there's an MSB inside that name. And we go ahead and choose our customer. What happens is it's just now displayed all items that this customer's ever purchased before. So we basically have a customer shopping list that's been presented to them of every item that they've ever bought. So it's essentially just using a tablet, and we can just click the items or change the prices or change the quantities and add to cart and simply place our order as we go along to make it. So in this situation, most of the time it's going to be a sales rep that's out in the field placing orders. So essentially the sales reps gets to just order off of the shopping list of the customer, although they can come back into the search for parts, and they can search for any type of part, just like um, something that's different off of the shopping list. So we put in Kingdom Brush, we get a list of all of the items, and then they can choose, again, they can add the quantity and add to cart. The exciting part to that is when we go to create the order, it's going to default to the ship to location. If we had multiple ship to locations, you could select it. We'd go ahead and give it a PO number. And this is in a live environment right now. So when I go to hit confirm order, so I put in my PO number, I've told that it's a charge order. We can do a charge order, a quote, or a drop ship. And when we go to confirm order, it's created the order. So it tells you the order number, and it's created this in the application in our ERP, so our green screen. So if I come over here and I type in that order number, it's brought in our full order. It's brought it in as a Rover. Rover was my entry person, brought in all the customer information. Again, this is a test customer, so the data is going to look a little bit goofy in here. But if I go look at the detail lines, there's our line items that we just ordered. And it would have printed a pick ticket right out to the warehouse. It would have emailed the sales rep on file, emailed an order acknowledgement to the customer. All of the things that would happen if it was just created internally. The other really neat thing, after you place the order and it says order created, you can either download the PDF if you're a sales rep and save it to your laptop or your tablet and email it out, or you could just email it direct from there. So this customer is going to be really excited about this because in no place in their application can they be on site in the customer's store and give them an order acknowledgement for what they just purchased. And then
Very cool.
we clicked on the email portion here. We could have just emailed it out. I don't have this tied in. This customer has SendGrid in the back, on their server. So I haven't tied in this API. We haven't got quite to that point yet.
First off, you'll notice that it looks pretty similar to point of sale. Something that's new is that we are now allowing customers to pick which modules they want to display on the customer portal. So here, this is actually pointed at Shims, so another system that is not Rover talking to the web. So here we're defining that we only want to see the orders module. And this is kind of like an e-commerce site a bit. So there's a couple cool things we could do. First of all, you'll see the in stock, out of stock tags. You can add items to your order. You can actually edit the quantity. from the bar, from the receipt on the right-hand side. Something else that's pretty cool is that you can drill down by category. So, for example, HVAC units, coils, and that's what you see here. And you can use those breadcrumbs to navigate back to the higher level categories. So that's pretty cool too. So, and the other thing that you can do actually is look at your order history, and that's going to be the customers, everything that they've ordered, and you can actually add the line items to the cart. So you can kind of reorder, you can download the PDF, you can email the PDF. I'm not sure if Ed has that hooked up yet though. So those are all cool things that we can do. Another thing is that you can look at it in the grid view if you have a smaller space, makes it easier to look at. And then there are two options here. You can either create the order or you can create a quote. So if we went ahead and created the order, we would be prompted, just like we are in point of sale, to select our address. We can enter a new address and actually save it to the customer for future use if we want to. And then we can go ahead and complete the order. And just like in point of sale, we've got a couple options. We could download the PDF, we can email the PDF, or we can just move along and create a new order, which I'm going to do now. The other thing that we can do is also create a quote. So if I add my items to cart and then I click create quote, we'll be brought to this edit quote page. Now, Sanders has an interesting model where they have contractors purchase parts from them, and then they want to send a quote to their customers, so like the homeowner. So what you can do here, which is pretty cool, is you can actually make the sell price adjustments. You can apply to all, or you can 50, yeah, or you can do it individually, and then we'll update accordingly. You can update the quantity, and we'll also calculate the profit or loss for the contractor. The other thing you can do is add a good or service. So this has actually been updated, so now it's going to be a drop down, but labor charges, service charges, things like that, and you can add that over here. And that's really the whole thing. This is still a work in progress, so the completion part of that isn't quite done yet. But as you can see, there's a couple options: view and cart, cancel, save and share, which would save the quote and then email the PDF. Save, which would just save the quote, and then we've added another button still in development, but save and download basically, which would save the quote and then download it. So that's what we've got here. It's pretty coon. Then view and cart will take you back. And that's kind of all the updates we've got so far in test. Something that's to come is we're going to have a quotes module here for Sanders, and we're going to basically populate the grid like you see here, a similar grid with basically the quotes, the quote history, and then the user can edit the quote, download the quote, email the quote, basically all the actions that you can do here, and actually also add those items from the quote into the order section of the application. And that way, if you want to basically say, okay, this is a quote, I don't know, you can technically just order those items. So that is it for the customer portal or Rover portal.
Yeah, thank you. We expect most Rover customers won't hook into the quotes section to the same extent that this customer is intending
Yeah.
to, because the use case is really direct sale. So you're either, straight to an order or a quote with no ability to manipulate the quote, or not to the same extent at least. But it's an interesting use case, like you mentioned, and it's kind of nice to be coming at it from the more complex use case perspective here, because that just everything else that's a little bit easier ends up falling into place pretty comfortably, and then you have this capacity to take on the more complicated workflow if the backend ERP is dictating it, right, for these users, offer them these options to be able to run through this. So it's pretty cool to see.
This is point of sale for another customer. Their use case is pretty similar to what Elvin was describing, where generally this is going to be used by sales reps out in the field to complete orders using iPads. So very similar interface. Under POS, we first search for a customer, choose a customer, and then what this is doing is pulling back products associated with a price code that is linked to this customer. So where Elvin was returning all of the products that this customer had purchased in the past, instead this is a list of products that are tagged with the price code assigned to this customer. We're working on a change now to allow this to have multiple price codes returned as well. So now we're looking at the items, we can add them to our cart. You can also individually search for products, just like Elvin described. This customer has another feature, which unfortunately I'm not that familiar with, but we have a custom function for them where they can add racks to an order. This is something about how the product is presented out at the customer site. So this is a custom edition that has been built for this particular implementation. But that kind of speaks to how we can customize this as needed. But I'll go ahead and proceed and create the order here. So again, picking the shipping address. In this case, a PO number is required, as well as an order type and an invoice date that is selected. And then we're doing signature capture here. So the customer who's approving this order can sign it and give their name. And we capture the date and timestamp on that. So now when we confirm the order, if we were to download a PDF of the order, we're stamping it with the date and time that it was signed, as well as including the signature on the order PDF. So that's kind of a cool feature here. You can also email. So that covers the POS implementation, and then we'll quickly go into field services. This is still a bit of a work in progress, so forgive me if we have live demo issues here. But the idea here is a service tech would be running service at a particular site. So they can create a new service item. Again, we'll search for a customer. And then the idea here is that there are different types of service reports that they can create. So in this case, there are wear, wash, and laundry. So this is like dishwashers, and this is like washers and dryers. So based on the report type you choose, and then you indicate adding operations, it gives you a checklist of the items that the tech is supposed to be indicating. So in this case, you can have input items that are a checkbox or a toggle. So the tech would indicate, yes, I checked all these things. They can perform measurements. They can add additional operations. And all of these operations are customer maintainable. So there's a control record on the backside where they can add in any type of operation that they want, and they can link them to one or more types of reports. So if they wanted to create a third report type, they could do that, and they can associate the same operations with one or more reports. So if there were an item that they do, regardless of whether it's wear, wash, or laundry, we can add that in the list here. And then again, we allow for capture of signature. So this is the customer saying, yep, you did these things. And then in a similar fashion, when you download the report, we're stamping that signature on the document as sort of a proof that this work was performed. Still work in progress. We don't have the operation detail filling in on the report, but that's field services at a high level. One thing I didn't cover, and another thing that is being considered for this customer, is tracking of serial numbers. So this would be, the techs out there, they want to indicate a particular machine that they're doing the service on. And if we had serial numbers on file for this customer, they would be populated in this dropdown. And then we could do things like populate the make and model of the equipment, track that. And then these field service reports are tied back to that serial number. So if you wanted to see all the service that had occurred for a particular device, you could do that.